me to, some of the comments coming from certain quarters in Nigeria about a particular ethnic group. And this time we're talking about the Southeast people who are predominantly Igbo people, the Igbo tribe. Recently, there was this viral video which surfaced on the social media space talking about Asari Dokubo and the comments he made about the Southeast people, the Igbos people. In fact, in that video, he was brandishing an AK-47 rifle and threatening to kill all the Igbo people, saying that if he even had opportunity, he would have still been selling them into slavery like his fathers did. I don't know what you make of that comment.
Well, I must say that after 8 years of Buhari's presidential apprenticeship, that, emphasized or rather spread, an epidemic of dishonest misinformation that became traumatic for most Nigerians. We're entering into another episode of APC unregulated, as it were, pronouncements through surrogates. I would not have wasted my time talking on Asari Dokubo or whatever his name. If I called his name wrongly, may he forgive me. But it is where he was coming from. This man went on a courtesy call to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, or whomsoever the President designated for him to meet. Where was he making that comment? At the seat of government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, with our coat of arms behind him. With the coat of arms of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the villa behind him, and he ran down a whole ethnic population of this country. So, don't you think that it was a strategy, it was an approved speech? Why do I say so? Within a space of 6 weeks, 3 significant things were happening at the same time. Asari Dokubo was in the villa, running down Igbos, he killed them, they were slaves, and he forgot that he was from Abia State. His grandparents were from Abia State, and they were sold into slavery. In 2020, if you watched another video where he was praising Biafra, that anybody who never believed in Biafra is not a patriot, each time he says such a thing, they give him contract. I hear now they are giving the security contract from Abuja to Kaduna. So that's probably what is out. So on one hand, the president of Nigeria was making a Nigerian of Igbo extraction, the chief of naval staff. And everybody was applauding that. And as that one was going on, they sent out Asari Dokubo to run down a whole tribe. It was not enough. In Lagos State, the government of Lagos State was systematically destroying the properties of Igbos at Alaba Market. 3 significant things. And the president thinks he's very smart. Give us chief of naval staff as if that is the means of livelihood, but go on to destroy the integrity, the ultimate integrity of the Igbo man. There's nothing our people appreciate than our honor, the hard work we put to make this country a successful place, to make this country one. I doubt, with due humility, if any other tribe has made as much compromise in terms of human-to-human relationship that Igbos have done. Check of all the presidents or governors in this country. Only Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, as president of this country, non-executive president of Nigeria. Do you know whom his ADC was? ADC is the closest security person to any top government official. Murtala Mohammed, Captain Murtala Mohammed was the ADC to Nnamdi Azikiwe. No other leader in this country. He would not only get a person from his ethnic group, if it's possible from his village. The Igbos have shown unsurpassed devotion to public duty. And we get this. A few years ago, the Oba of Lagos said, because Igbos in Lagos voted for a Yoruba man that was not of their own approval, that we should drown in the lagoon. And as of today, neither the Lagos state government, nor the now president of Nigeria, or Buhari's government had made a comment that a whole tribe should perish in the lagoon. And you're talking of unity, love. Where is it? Where is it? I suppose we have been very foolish to leave our environment, go to other places, develop them out of love, to make money too. Civilize people. Because we go to places, build houses, and they see that it's good to live a lot better than they found themselves initially. And I have said here, some 4 or 5 months ago, how the Sultanate wanted to jail Ahmadu Bello. In 1937, after he ran for the Sultanate against the grandfather of the present Sultan, they sued him to court in Guzo Magistrate Court for the non-payment of tax. Igbos contributed money. 8 Igbos, including my late father. 8 Igbos contributed £2 in 1937. Went to Lagos and got H.O. Davis, and some went to Onisha and brought Ebuna. And they came to Guzo Magistrate Court and make sure that Ahmadu Bello was discharged. That was how finally they made him Sardauna of Sokoto and entered into politics. That gave rise to the alliance between NCNC and NPC that lasted for more than half a century. Tell me, what else can Igbos do in this country to show love of country, to show love of fellow citizens? At each turn, we receive condemnation. It is even more, so painful that the person condemning us who should die, they should kill us. It's an Igbo boy in the name of Asari Dokubo. And he does not see why Nnamdi Kanu should be released. So Nkoli, I find it very painful even to discuss the matter. But like I warned, or rather advised Buhari's government, and I advised Tinubu, because I know him one-on-one. When I was chairman of NRC, he was a senator. I met him severally. I will advise him in his own interest of this country, and for the love of this country, that they should release Nnamdi Kanu. Buhari said, let the legal process take its course. The legal process has taken its course. The Court of Appeal, second highest court in this land, has discharged him, and they are still holding him. I pray that nothing happens to that boy in prison, that he does not die in prison. If he does, they can call it an advice, they can call it a threat. The situation will not be the same in this country. I pray, and I hope Tinubu is smart enough not to be a Buhari.
All right, just to take you back to what you said earlier, because it would not be right really to conclude that probably Asari has been sent by anyone, to say what he's saying, because investigation into the first time that video was made showed that it appeared on YouTube on the 1st of October 2022. So it only resurfaced again as a viral video after his visit to the villa, where he talked about how military are involved in, pipeline and oil theft in the country. So it may not be right to say someone sent him. And, that investigation shows that he was actually reacting to a statement, which he said some people made some statement about him, the Igbo people, people who are supporting the LP candidate at the time.
What is significant, whether anybody sent him or not, he made that statement in the seat of government. The properties of the hybridization of how or what happened before he made it, it's no more important. If you look at where he was sitting down, he wasn't sitting in his private sitting room, or as I'm here on this table with AIT, he was sitting at the executive seat of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria with our coat of arms behind him. I couldn't be bothered whether it was President Tinubu or Buhari. What is important, that he had the audacity of purpose to sit on the table of the federal government, as it were. That is where government gives press conferences, to give information to the rest of us. All he did there was to castigate people, and was urging Tinubu, not to release Nnamdi Kanu. So that must have happened in this government. If you read the whole thing he said, there was nothing else he said. He wasn't complaining about any ill treatment of people in the Niger Delta, which most parts of the Southeast are also part of the Niger Delta. He wasn't complaining. Systematically, he zeroed in on the Igbos, which was one of them, or which is still one of them, whether he liked it or not.
So what could have led to such deep-seated, hatred for the Igbo people from the statements he's making? Because he also alluded to the fact that, during the support for the LP, those are called obedient movement, claimed that they held a 2 million man march or rally for the LP candidate, and then that he believes it was a lie. But is that enough, really, for someone to condemn an entire ethnic group?
This is why, you remember, during my 30 minutes program on this platform, making my tribute for my good friend Raymond Dobesi, I said 32 years ago, when Raymond Dobesi came, was running for the presidency of this country, he came to Anambra. I was chairman of the National Republican Convention, and he said something. He, as it were, castigated the Igbos the delegates he met. Say, look at you people. Today you are complaining of minorities, the Yorubas, Hausa, Fulani, and some people jumped up, wanted to attack him. I said, no, let's listen to him. He said, look at yourself. For every gift God has given to people anywhere in this country, the Igbos have the best of it. If you had governors, 5 governors who are Igbos, 10 years they will turn this place into London or any other place in the world. You don't need Nigeria to be what you are, because you don't have leadership. After Raymond Dobesi said that, we contributed 22,000 plus and said, put petrol in your car. Nobody in Anambra ever forgot that. It was top news in this country 32 years ago. So I'm not blaming Asari Dokubo for what he said. I will blame ourselves for lack of leadership. Today we have 2 APC governments, 1 Labour, 1 ABGA, 1 PDP. Hardly do they talk to themselves, but they are our leaders. So we also have internal problems, which, I'm discussing with top-level Igbos in both parties. How do we begin to sort out our problem? Because we have to sort it out, at least for the defense of our own people who are helpless. People are being sliced, their noses are being sliced. You see it in social media. That's where we have degenerated. And if you remember, 4 years ago, I warned on this platform that Nigeria is gradually falling into Afghanistan. We're even worse than Afghanistan now, because every day 10, 20, 40 people are killed in different places in this country. It's worse now in Southern Kaduna and Plateau State, not to talk of Benue. Is that the way we live? And this president is now telling us how difficult it was to rule Nigeria. He didn't know that for the 8 years he was jumping around the world with our presidential jet. When you don't have a vision, put Nigeria back more than 20 years. How should or why should Asari Dokubo complain of Labour? I'm not the Labour Party. I don't have any sympathies for anybody. I'm a PD person, and I thought by my calculation it was easier for the Igbos to come into limelight. That was Akweme's belief. That was Ojukwu's belief. That we start, because of this hatred, which you are now seeing all over the place, let us go stage by stage. Ekweme was vice president, and we were right in power, right in the corridor of it. Peter Obi was vice presidential candidate to Atiku Abubakar. If he was again vice presidential candidate this time around, PDP would have been in government. It would have been the easiest point, by the grace of God, for us to see power. By the time anybody woke up in the morning, we'll be in power. And help. The unfortunate thing about it is that even when Igbos are in power, other people will profit, not Igbos. Our people are not used to government projects. We are self-indulgent people. We develop ourselves industrially, So for anybody to say that because people supported Peter, therefore they should be murdered, why? Everybody has a right to support any candidate. I lost my ward. I lost my local government to Peter, which never happened before. That was the choice of my people. Many governors lost their wards. That was the choice. Igbos voted because they felt a form of exclusion. Let us throw this vote, they will get lost. And they have thrown the vote. I don't know what they call it. The tribunals will say, that's a different kettle of fish. It is sub judice, I won't comment on that. But I don't know how it's going to go. So people have a right. This APC that's talking, to the best of my knowledge, they probably won about 5 or 6 states in this country. Every other thing was rigged. Every other thing was rigged. They probably won only Oyo, Ekiti, Kwara, Borno, and one other place. I'm telling you, PDP won more than 80% of what is now northern Nigeria. Labour won Lagos and so many other places. Only INEC knew how they were able to manipulate this. But the case is in tribunal now, so we'll see how it goes. But I pray God that this country is a beautiful country. I must tell you, beautiful country. If honest people, like the Bible says, the poor rejoices when the righteous is in power. But unfortunately, the righteous have to be in power first before the poor will rejoice. Would they allow the righteous to come to power? They will not.
All right, we'll come to some of the factors, that seems to be impeding that aspect of politics or an Igbo man getting into power when we come back from this short break. Thank you so much for staying with us. We're still talking about some of the comments coming from certain quarters against the Igbo people, people from the southeast region of the country, and then looking at the political future of that particular region. Chief Dan Olas is still very much with us in the studio, former PDP chairman in Anambra State. Okay, Chief, before we went on that short break, we were talking about some of the issues that are happening with the Igbos. Now, during the election, Igbos were said to have voted more for the LP candidates, maybe probably voting for their own or believing that this is the right time for an Igbo man to get into power. But then some Igbo people also kicked against the emergence of the LP leader. And many people are saying the Igbos may actually be the architect of their own problem when it comes to governance in the country.
I will reply that question with a biblical comment. It's if you read 1 Corinthians 8, verse 11, it says, be silent if the words you will offer will offend a weaker person or destroy a weaker person. But you don't need to be silent completely all the time, because that will be complicit if you don't speak of evil when you see it. I think that's the summary of our problem in this country. When we were speaking before the break, I did say, that we were in the same party with Peter Obi, bright young man, 2019, he was a vice presidential candidate to Atiku. And when Atiku declared for presidency this time around, he was there. He took up the microphone and paid glowing tributes. He was one of the greatest unifiers in this country. He said so. But he had the right to do what he did. But whether that was an advantage to our people or not, history will judge. He has the constitutional right to do what he did. Most Igbos were apprehensive, behaved the way they did because of Buhari's treatment of our people. Buhari, for him, Igbos never existed. Unfortunately, 8 years, not just Igbos, the whole of former Eastern region never existed. And he couldn't be bothered.
The dots in a hole, he referred to them at some point.
Yes. So it's difficult to know why such attitudes. But I've read a lot of Northerners who believed that without Igbos, Igbos are not gods, they are not angelic, but they are hardworking people, and we offer no apologies to anybody. Look, Nkoli, my father went to Kano in 1933 as a very young man. With Okonkwo Kano, a lot of Nnewi people went there to make a living. They trade in one thing or the other. They bring in things, build houses. We built virtually the first secondary school in Kano by Igbo State Union. My father was the last chairman of NCNC in Kaduna before the Civil War started. He was the last president of Igbo State Union in northern Nigeria. We loved this country. That we were calling Igbos in the north, Hausa Igbos, and we couldn't be bothered. Most Igbos married hundreds of northerners. If you come to my house in my town, the next compound, my late uncle, he married a Sokoto woman. By 1960, they now have great-grandchildren. Beautiful people. And we love them. So sometimes you start to wonder, why this hatred? Why this hatred? You can't explain it. And people are here telling you of love, unity. And that was what I said in one program here. Wasn't Buhari, what's his name? Former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, right when he said that there was no basis for Nigerian unity. That's what comes to my mind. That one was a spiritual statement. It was the Holy Spirit speaking through him. And look now, not only the Igbos, look at what is happening in Northwest. Even people who have held power for more than 30 years, the Northwest, they are killing people on a daily basis. Boko Haram is there. They have named a new one, Bandit. They are killing people in Plateau, killing people in Benue. It's now a killing field. And they are talking of national unity. Nobody's addressing any issues. And what I normally tell my friends, wherever you see conflict, serious conflict, continuous conflict, it's as a result of unresolved problems. Unresolved problems people refuse to put into dialogue. And you know why I'm worried? And I want to say this seriously. And I want Nigerians to listen. Before my friend Dr. Junaidu Mohammed died, We were all 1978, 79. We were all with Malam Aminu Kano in PRP. We weren't in MPP. Myself, as young as I was then, Uche Chukwumeri is the late. Professor Shino Achebe late was our brain trust in PRP. Late Dr. Otto Nwankwo, late Dr. Nkemo Keke, late Dr. Austin Abalance of Abagana. A lot of us, late Dr. Oke Modi, husband of Senator Joy Modi, we're all in PRP. You know, something happened that is giving me so much worry. When Malam Aminu Kano visited the East, we were seeing him off at Enugu Airport. Then you know it was only Nigeria Airways, and we were waiting. And there was something I said. And Malam Aminu Kano, that was the day he made me his special advisor for the whole East. He said, Dan, you know Igbos can't carry out a revolution. That was why you failed, because you love this country so much. But I want to tell you something. Any day you see crisis, blood-shedding crisis beginning in the north, know that that is the beginning of the end if it is not controlled. I was discussing with Dr. Junaidu Mohammed 2 months before he died. This is where we are. And I don't know whether people live in the moon. You see your countrymen and women, children being killed on a daily basis, and nobody's interested in sitting down to discuss what is the genesis, what was not part of our lifestyle of killing people. All parts of this country cherish and love life, you know, but now we kill people like if we are killing goats. And it's good news to read in newspapers and television, 40 killed, 30 killed on a daily basis. It tells you something is happening. Where it's going to lead us, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to lead us.
All right, Chief, but let me ask you this critical question, which many people are also asking on the social media space. Do the Igbos also hate themselves, really? And I'm asking this because you just alluded to the fact that Asari Dokubo has an Igbo origin, which he also admitted in some of the videos he made earlier before now, talking about his fathers coming from Abia State, settled in Obosi, then went back to the Calabari, or what do you call that place now? So, if he has an Igbo blood in him and he could come out strong to talk about the Igbos in this despicable manner, and then when a son of the land also came out, you know, to contest this election, people like you also were not even in support of him at the time. Some people are arguing that if all Igbos actually had supported him, maybe the result of this election could have been different, and this battle at the court may not even have come up at all. Do you agree with that?
I'll answer, no, I don't agree with that. I'll answer the question by saying, first, wherever you see people who are industrious and competitive, it brings in some envy and anger. That's what comes with competitiveness. This is why most other parts of this country don't like the Igbos. We are competitive. So in that spirit of competition, we are also Republicans. If you go to a family, the same family, mother and father, and there are 7, if all of them don't speak, there will be crisis. It's unfortunate. That's genetic. That's the way God has made us. But we don't hate ourselves, because Igbos were good loyalists following Nnamdi Azikiwe. They were even more loyal following Emai Okpara. How about the loyalty they showed General Odumegwu Ojukwu during the Civil War? So you cannot describe our people as hating ourselves. If we have reason to do something, we'll do it. That was the same reason they showed in voting for Peter Obi, because we lacked leadership that should have strategized. Igbos have a saying, when you have enemies surrounding you, you have to wash your house. It's better said in Igbo. You know, if we had leaders who were prepared to strategize, and if you make reference to what I told you, Dr. Raymond Dobbs, said 32 years ago, that a time there is for us to look inwards. Presidency, Goodluck Jonathan was president for 6 years. He couldn't build a road from Port Harcourt to Yenagoa. I visited his table 5 times on his invitation, and I could see the tragedy that was that presidential table. The conflict, the ethnocentric manipulations. You needed extreme courage to want to take a decision in this country. For anything you do, there's an explanation. You remember when, what was his name from Abia was chief of army staff? Kano State said, all the officers he promoted were Igbos, and they published it. Out of 15 generals, 5 were from Kano State. Up to today, they didn't make any other comment. That is what you see in this country. So what I'm saying is that Igbos have a right to aspire to any leadership because that's what the Constitution says. But we know that the Constitution says one thing, and the rest of the country, they do what they like. So, but I don't think we should give hope. But most importantly, I want to wait, because looking at the evidences so far at the Presidential Tribunal, I'll be shocked if a different judgment is made. I'm looking forward that this election should be annulled and a proper election held. That is when every group should re-strategize. Re-strategize. I will not go into the details of the strategy, but from the presidential evidences and witnesses before the tribunal, it will be magic if any other decision is reached, other than there was no election, as it were. That was the whole write-up of rigging. And I say it with due humility, not running down the man who has been sworn in. I mean, he's a very smart guy.
Now, are you confident about what is going on at the petition election tribunal, talking about the presidential one for now, because we know it's happening in all states of the federation? So let's look at where elections held, really. So let's look at how confident you are what the outcome would be.
I would have been very confident if a man called Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, a professor. You know, I have the singular privilege that my wife is a professor of medicine. She's not an angel, but 90% of her pronouncement is honest because she deals with human life. If you're dishonest in ordinary things, you won't know when you are dishonest in treating people and they die. So when I look at the problem of Nigeria presently in this election that just passed, it's a problem we look at Mahmoud Yakubu. I don't know what kind of professor he is for all the spoken words with his information from Bono Okoye, and they never did anything. Instead, they conspired. With the evidences available at the various tribunals, look at what is happening in Nasarawa State. Isn't that terrible? Everywhere, you know, we're looking at the presidential court election petition at the national level. Horrible things are going on across the country at the states. People people said they use duress to force them to sign election results in 21st century Nigeria, where Yakub Makubu swore that he will give us the best election ever. I only pray God that from the evidences available, like I said a few minutes ago, I'll be surprised if these elections are now cancelled.
Oh, okay. That's the last point there. We'll leave this discussion there. We thank you very much. Chief Dan Ulase, former PDP chairman in Anambra State, has joined us to look at the state of the nation and, of course, some of the comments coming against the people of the Southeast region and what is portend for them, the political future of that region. Thank you very much and do have a great day.